About to start. Thank you.
All the past and the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're with my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you are behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains that lash. And to believe in what you got, it was built to last. Yeah.
Not on the menu, you make the house rules. You're in control of the power I see. And we'll make the globe move. It's a new era, rise of the new.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Generation will grow. You gotta do it ourselves. No one out, no making for help. We're moving forward, straight to the sun. We're making a difference. Answers are within within. Your African own. We're getting out there. This movement is continental. Straight to the African situation. It's monumental. You in position so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No, I'm not giving up, no, I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it. I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I never 7 pages of bacon. Modern kingdom for the taking.
African CEOs, African borderline, shifting the paradigm. This is your time to shine. Beautiful, brilliant African mind.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Signed, sealed, approved, endorsement. Africa, land of the great, united African nation. Africa made, Africa paid, Africans collaborate. Ubuntu, new African era. From the Sahara to the Kalahari Desert, east to the west. Key conversations, transforming our continent. You're at the table, not on the menu. You make the house rules, you're in control, power our cities. And we'll make the globe move. It's a new era, rise of the new. African CEO, cross the African borderlines, shifting the paradigm. This is your time to shine. Ubuntu.
Another round of applause for the brilliant Malaika Wamahoro. Beautiful, captivating performance to welcome us to Kigali. So welcome everyone to Kigali. Welcome. As someone said yesterday, welcome home, and it certainly feels like home. It's so good to be back, and it's so good to see such a strong West African presence. Who's here from West Africa? Yeah? You're usually a lot more rowdy than that. Welcome to the Africa CEO Forum. It's been 13 years of incredible conversations. And frankly, we've been meeting during interesting times, but I think nothing compares to what we're seeing right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that we're currently dealing with the largest energy shock in the history of markets. Wars are changing trade routes. Perceptions of risk are being turned on their head. And we've noticed there's a renewed scramble for African resources. It's a big topic of conversation, but African leaders are responding differently. They're saying a categorical no to bad deals, deals that don't include value add on the continent, deals that are just about extraction. There's a sea change that is going on. And frankly, over the 13 years being present at this forum with the private sector, the strength of the African continent, we've been talking about building businesses and national champions and regional champions. But we've got to take it a step further. We've got to think about scaling up, because scale means resilience. It means being able to counter global economic shocks. And we can absolutely do it. But to do that, we cannot do it alone. We need to build trust. We need to talk about shared ownership. We need to talk about pooling of capital. We need to think about taking the next step forward. And this is a moment of awakening. We've had a few of those. I mean, remember the COVID-19 pandemic? But there's a big change that is happening, and you in the room here have a very important opportunity to capitalize on this crisis where small little waterway is being weaponized, but it's being felt all around the world. So ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I'd like to plant something in your head. It's not about building, million-dollar businesses. It's about thinking about $100 million, $1 billion, $20 billion, building African champions. So on that note, I'd like to welcome Amir Ben Yamed, the CEO and founder of Africa CEO Forum and the CEO of Jeune Afrique Media Group. Round of applause. Good to be back. Can you believe it's been 13 years?
Yes, exactly. 13 years. The forum started in 2012, and I'm very happy, super happy actually, to be back in Kigali, which is one of our house with Abidjan, and to see all of this familiar face. If you allow me, I will start by doing some thanking. I would like to thank President Kagame, the Rwanda Development Board, the Rwandan government for the hospitality they're giving us for this conference. I would like to also give my greetings to our honorable guests, President Tinubu of Nigeria, President Razwani of Mauritania, President Chapeau of Mozambique, President Doumbouya of Guinea, President Oligui of Gabon, the Prime Minister of Côte d'Ivoire, the Vice President of Botswana, and all the DFIs that are in the room, and the heads of institutions and ministers, and the 2,800 participants that are here. It's a record for the forum. And a great testimony of the strength of the African private sector.
Wow, I mean, incredible to see so many important delegates here. Just a round of applause for all the heads of state that are here, the important people in this room. We expect important outcomes because so many of you are here, so we'll see how that works out, right? You really want to break the mold in terms of the conversations that we're having. And you're talking about scaling or failing. And I want you to give me a sense of the premise of this year's theme.
Yes, first of all, the African private sector have made incredible progresses in the last 15 years. But I think now that the world, as you said very well in your introduction, has changed. It has changed because we are now in a world of, let's say, political negotiation, political forces, political how do you say, breaking, anyway.
Bullying,
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot
bullying.
You're being very diplomatic, I have to say, in the way you're describing it.
Where scale is now a tool to exert dominance through corporate influence, through capital power. In the corporate world, you see how China and the US are supporting their companies in the AI, in finance, oil and gas, in renewable to have their power. And you have seen how Europe, who had no global champion to rival US and Africa, had absolutely no leverage when they had the tariff negotiations. So that's one. It's the same thing for capital. It's going massively to scale, AI, data center, smart semiconductors, etc. So this one movement, so basically shifting the scale used as dominance. And the second thing, which is very important, is that the world is in a constant stage of crisis. Every time comes up a crisis. So it started with the climate change. So suddenly we as Africans could not finance our oil and gas project. Then COVID, then Ukraine, then Iran war, and every time Africa pays the price.
It does.
Every time.
The continent is usually collateral damage for bad decisions being made elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So we pay the price, so we have two options now. Either we can't keep paying the price of other people's crisis, or we decide to build the scale we need to have leverage.
So you've spoken about scale, and you've made the argument that we're already starting to see signs of that, but we need to galvanize this even further. Where do you believe the private sector is falling short? And I just, mentioning these examples of, for example, South African businesses hitting roadblocks in Nigeria, or Moroccan financial sector coming up with regulatory roadblocks in West Africa. So I wonder what's going to break the mold, what's really going on.
So if we accept the scale issue and the scale target for all of us, we have to do it with another mindset. And that's, I'm going to get to your corporate point of view. That's the purpose of this conference, we have to get in the mindset of shared ownership. That means building these scales, whether it's for corporates, whether it's for infrastructure, building it together with trust, with everybody in the room trying to trust each other. So in the corporate world, as I said, we've made many improvements. We have hundreds of national champions in this room. But if we want to get to scale, which is a requisite, we won't do it without opening our equity, I think personally that no company, African company, can go continental if its sole ownership stays national. It needs to open its capital to other African partners, whether it's a private individual, it's a private company, or more importantly, the world of institutional investment. That's the way it has been done in the West. If you look at the West, you look at the top 100 multinationals, do they have an owner? No. Maybe the most important shareholder is 7%. And now their owner is mostly institutional investor. They have some strategic persons that keep control. You look at Bernard Arnault, is one of the richest guy. He controls his company with 40%. And you have people who control their company with less than that. And they have access to a lot of money. And this money comes from institutional investment. We have $2 trillion in Africa under management. Pension fund, insurers, sovereign fund, all his money is here, but it cannot be directed where it should be.
Yeah, that's a really interesting prospect. I mean, frankly, where's that money going? Where's it sitting? And why haven't we mobilized it? Let's talk about shared ownership a little bit more, because I really want you to dig into this and talk about the notion of still requiring foreign capital. I mean, frankly, you were talking about, examples of global multinationals where they're able to leverage global international markets. I wonder if this is an Africa-related project where we're tapping into local capital available, or whether you believe there's a real big chance now that perceptions of risks have completely shifted, to leverage on foreign capital.
First of all, what we mean by shared ownership is absolutely not nationalism. Africa, it's about Africans owning more of Africa's wealth. Foreign investment is required. The only thing is how you create and share value. A lot of international companies are here, have already listed their companies. That's how you create value. You help African retail investor, African institutional investors get a part of the value that has been created by holding equity. So we need MSA, we need Orange, we need Schneider Electric, we need all these international companies that are a great creator of wealth. And by the way, the chairman of Schneider Electric is here in the room. That's a perfect example of what I was saying earlier. Schneider Electric is one of the most successful industrial company in the world. It's $40 billion with a presence in 100 countries, and it has no owner. And still, it's super successful. So it's better to have a smaller size of a huge pie than staying the way we are today.
Okay, interesting. I mean, this is, you've painted a very ambitious picture in terms of leveraging multiple options here. But what do you think the main obstacles are between what you're describing and where we are today?
There's plenty of things that we could do because we have been having this discussion for a long time. But I think there are three things that are very important. First, the CFTA is still a foundational element of the conversation. It's been 7 years. I don't think that many persons in that room are aware of the progress it makes. So I think like any private sector company, it should have a transparent timeline, milestone, metrics, accountability. It's the same with PAPS. So these are two super important continental projects that need more monitoring and more accountability. So I think it's very important. The second, I think, important thing is regulation and harmonization. We have seen that harmonization works. In West Africa, OADA is a unified law system. It works. CIMA, it's an insurance framework. It works. And we need to free the flow of capital. So the two main things that is in terms of regulation is stock markets, create standards for listings, and two, free cross-border capital. That's the most important thing, because as I've told you, as we've seen in the West, this $2 trillion money is what is going to fuel Africa's growth in the next 10 years.
But trust falls into place on this.
Yes, and one last thing, because we haven't spoken a lot about infrastructure, and we have been discussing also infrastructure for a long time. We need to have more regional, continental projects. We have a perfect example with the Lobito corridor. It's a fantastic project, but it has been thought in the US. So we need to think about this project ourselves. And I think there's an institution that has the mandate, the convening power, the balance sheet to do that, to create design, because our problem is not financing, it's a pipeline of projects. So we need this institution to do it. I think we have one. It's the AFDB. His president is here, Mr. Sidi Ulta, and I think I would be very happy if he gets rid for us of this obstacle.
So you've got a big job.
So three main priorities, I think. And I think they're easily doable.
Yeah, he's agreeing, so hopefully we'll see some movement on that. I'm an outcomes person, so I'm hoping that we'll have some tangible outcomes, and not just signing of communiques, and not just signing of MOUs, right? Like actual tangible action, hopefully, that will come to the fore. On that note, Amir, I wonder what you want every participant to walk away with after this forum, given that the world has fundamentally changed. And, you know, experts are saying it's never going to be the same again, because of something that's happening far away from here. What do you want people to walk away with?
I think the principal takeaway I would like, first of all, you have to understand that we're a Pan-African company. We have no nationality, so everything we do is Pan-African, so we don't have this trust issue. Everything we try to do from platform, from media, is for the sake of the development of Africa, for every country's development. So that's our mindset. And what we would like with this share mindship vision is that you all think that it's not a dream, that we can achieve it together, that we can build the leverage that Africa needs to be respected and needs to be growing, and that every decision that you can all make, heads of states, minister, CEOs by calling partners or other things, minister by making a regulatory change, we can all do this. It's just a series of decisions. It's not a vision, it's not a dream. We can make it happen within the next 10 years.
Fantastic, Amir. Thank you so much. Round of applause for Amir, Ben Ahmed.
Thank you.
You all have a big job ahead of you.
Yes.
So hopefully,
You're telling me that I should go?
No, I'm going to tell you to go, but I appreciate it, and honestly, just hearing you speak so passionately about where we are right now and where we're going, I think everyone has a very big job over the next few days in terms of crafting their conversation.
Absolutely, and I wish you all a great conference, and I thank again all the partners that are supporting the forum. That's thanks to you that this dynamic exists, and I wish you an excellent stay in Kigali and a great conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amir. Thank you so much. Thank you. Merci. Thank you so much. Okay, I'd like to help me welcome Jean-Guy Africa, the CEO of the Rwanda Development Board, for a few words. Please, sir, join us. Round of applause. Thank you.
Your Excellency Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, Your Excellencies, the heads of state and government present here today, Mr. Makhtar Diop, Managing Director of IFC, Mr. Amir Ben-Yamed, CEO of Jeune Afrique Media Group, distinguished leaders from the public and private sectors, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the government of Rwanda and the Rwanda Development Board, it is my pleasure to welcome you to Kigali for the Africa CEO Forum. We are honored to host you, heads of state, business leaders, investors, policymakers, entrepreneurs, and institutional partners representing more than 69 countries across Africa and beyond. The Africa CEO Forum has become more than an annual gathering. It has become a platform where Africa's public and private sector leaders come together to shape a common agenda for growth, investment, partnership, and execution. This year's theme, the scale imperative, why Africa must embrace shared ownership, captures the urgency of the moment. It reminds us that scale will not be achieved by governments, businesses, or investors acting in isolation, but through shared responsibility, shared risk, and shared execution. This message is especially relevant today. The global economy is changing rapidly. Capital is more selective, financing is more expensive, supply chains are being reorganized, and technology is transforming every sector. At the same time, Africa's demographic opportunity is becoming impossible to ignore. A young and growing population, expanding cities, rising consumption, and a workforce that will shape the global economy in decades to come. The challenge is to convert this potential into scale. That means building competitive companies, deeper markets, stronger infrastructure, more productive capital, and cross-border platforms that make it easier to invest, trade, and expand across the continent. It also means government and the private sector working differently together. Governments creating predictability and reducing friction, and the private sector investing, innovating, taking risk, and helping build the champions Africa needs. For Rwanda, this conversation is all too familiar. Our development journey has always required us to think beyond our size and geography and to build the openness, reliability, connectivity, and trust that allow a country to serve not only its own markets, but the wider region and the continent. That is why we continue to invest in trade infrastructure and logistics, tourism, aviation, financial services, and technology, while continuously improving the business environment that enables companies to invest, operate, and grow. Together, these investments and reforms make it easier for Rwandan, African, and global companies to invest, operate, and scale across borders. This is the spirit in which Rwanda welcomes you, as partners in a shared continental project, as leaders with the responsibility to turn ambition into action, and as builders of the scale, trust, and execution Africa needs. Over the next 2 days, may Kigali be a place of serious conversations, new partnerships, and concrete decisions. I wish you all a productive and successful Africa CEO Forum. Thank you very much.
A big round of applause for Jean-Guy Africa, the CEO of the Rwanda Development Board. I would like to now welcome Maktar Diop, the Managing Director of the International Finance Corporation, for a few words. Maktar, where are you? There you are. Good to see you. Lovely to see you.
Your Excellency President Paul Kagame, Your Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Your Excellency President Mohamed Sheikh El Ghazouani, Your Excellency President Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema, Your Excellency President Chapeau, Your Excellency President Mamadi Doumbouya, Your Excellency Vice President Nabagouadley, Prime Minister of Côte d'Ivoire Robert Begré-Mabé, distinguished guests, business leaders, ministers. It's an honor to return to Kigali, His Excellency President Paul Kagame and the people of Rwanda. Thank you for this extraordinary welcome. Kigali commands attention not only of what others say, but because of what it achieves, a vision rendered in concrete reality. I would like to thank our co-hosts, Jeune Afrique and Ahmed, for the work that I've been doing together for the past years. If you allow me, I would like to recognize someone that I'm proud to call a long-standing brother, Sidi Ould-Tah, President of the African Development Bank. Sidi. Sidi Ould-Tah, across Mission 300, infrastructure corridors, capital mobilization for our continent's most fragile economy, we stand on the same front lines, waging the same battle. Our partnership is not protocol. It's a strategic imperative of two African brothers, of two institutions who care for development. I'm honored, Sidi, to count you as a both partner and a brother in arms. Thank you. Shukran. We gather at a moment of profound global disruption. Conflicts spreading across multiple regions are not abstract events. They strike our economies directly. Food costs are surging, foreign reserves depleted, debt escalating, capital withdrawing. These shocks underscore with an urgency impossible to dismiss one essential truth. There is no sustainable development without sound macroeconomic foundation. Resilience is not assembled during a crisis, it's forged before one arrives, through fiscal discipline and other instruments that we know. The nation best equipped to absorb today's shock are those who have the discipline to lay those foundations when conditions allowed. Yet, through all this turbulence, one reality has never been sharper. Emerging markets are no longer the margin of the global system. They are its engine. Sub-Saharan Africa represents 60% of the world population, under 25, Within a generation, 1 in 3 workers on this planet will be African, 1 out of 3. And we know the sources of jobs. 9 in 10 are generated by the private sector in developing countries. The question before us is therefore direct and pressing. Can we link African talent, its capital, its market, into engines of employment and at which scale? World Bank President Ajebanga has anchored the World Bank Group strategy around 5 priorities. Those 5 priorities come from his consultation with the head of states. These 5 sectors are engines of structural transformation capable of absorbing the vast cohort of young people entering the labor force. These are equally the defining pillars of what IFC is doing in Africa. Let me just break it down quickly for you. Energy and infrastructure. No economy industrialized without dependable power. Through Mission 300, we are committed to bringing electricity to 300 million Africans through regional grids, mini-grids, off-grid systems, and with private capital at the center of it. We need integrated energy markets that keep the light on. These are also important for economic development. We need to accelerate the participation in transmission. This is the next frontier. We are seeing a lot of people investing in generation, but the private sector doesn't access investment in transmission, which will be critical. But we need to do it with all sorts of energy. And I would like to thank and once again congratulate Rwanda for taking the leadership in diversifying the source of energy for the continent, with including nuclear as an option for African countries. Thank you for the leadership, Mr. President. Agriculture. Africa holds 60% of the world untapped arable land. Global food demand will rise by 50% over the next 3 decades. Through AgriConnect, we are channeling private sector capital money into agriculture value chain, and this from input to processing through a logistic and market access. When agriculture shifts from subsistence production to integrated chains, it generates unemployment throughout the value chain, anchor natural economies, and feed downstream industries. The goal is income resilience and job at scale. Let me turn about something which is important because it shaped a lot of our economic history in the continent. Corridors and connectivity. Africa corridors were largely built during the colonial period for a single objective: extract commodities and move them to the coast and transform, with no industrial dividend for local populations. That logic must be buried. The Lopito Corridor, Simandu, this initiative carry a different vision. A corridor that carries raw or generates handling work. A corridor that carries processed steel, manufactured goods, generate industry, transport agricultural product, transform agricultural product, is development. This section is important. It's a decision, and we need to build on it. Corridors are not only to export raw material for Africa. They are here to create jobs and make our economy more resilient. Healthcare, human capital, and skill. Investing in health means investing in the most elemental input of any economy. Africa's health systems are underfunded and heavily reliant on imports. The private sector has a transformative part to play. Community clinics, telemedicine, local pharmaceutical production. If I want to be frank, something we do not say enough is that a healthy workforce is only as productive as a skilled workforce. And I remember vividly during the crisis of COVID, our President Kagame gathered the leadership here to ensure that there is independence in the production of vaccine needed for our population. Thank you for all the leaders here who have been showing that Africa can take things in their hand when they need to have it. But I would like to say something about vocational and technical education. These are essential elements to development as well as digital literacy, and entrepreneurship. These are the foundation, I would say the infrastructure of human capital, and must command the same urgency as road and power lines. Let's talk now about something which is important also: critical mineral and value-added manufacturing and small AI. Africa cannot continue shipping raw materials only to repurchase them as finished goods at a premium. Cobalt, lithium, manganese, graphite, Africa critical mineral situate this continent at the center of the global energy transition. Our collective obligation is to ensure that strategic position yields local wealth and industrial employment, not merely extractive income. This is a matter of sovereignty. But the conclusion, the discussion on critical mineral may be joined by a discussion on artificial intelligence. What I call small AI, precision, context-specific application built to address concrete African realities. AI tools that help a smallholder farmer in the Sahel identify the optimal planting windows. An AI system that allows a district clinic to detect malaria faster and more reliably. An AI model trained on local languages, local data, local conditions. These are not distant aspirations. They are deployable today and represent a remarkable opportunity to compress decades of development in sector where we have historically lagged. The mineral powering global AI hardware lies largely beneath African soil. It would be a historic failure of imagination if Africa provided the raw inputs for the AI revolution while remaining a consumer rather than a co-architect of its rewards. Small AI is our portal into that future, and we must step through it. Now talking about our private sector in Africa, the SMEs, the regional champion, the African capital market. In Africa, jobs are created by small and medium enterprises, and we don't talk about it enough. These first and second generation family enterprises that I saw in Guinea, in Nigeria, in Côte d'Ivoire, in East Africa, they are providing jobs and livelihood for our youth, rich communities that large corporations cannot reach. They rely on them to reach those communities. These futures hinge on one condition: integration into national, regional, and international value chain. The African Free Trade Agreement provides a legal architecture, 49 ratifications, but the agreements do not generate employment. Transactions do. For this framework to become economic reality, businesses must be able to trade, finance, insure, and export across borders efficiently, affordably, and without bureaucratic obstacle at every crossing. To cultivate regional champions, two conditions are not negotiable. First, dismantle every barrier to cross-border investment, whether direct or through equity markets. Capital transfer restriction, double taxation, regulatory fragmentation, stock exchange incompatibilities. These are policy choices, not economic laws. They can be reversed, and they must be reversed. Second, Africa's great national enterprises must open their ownership to African savings. African pension funds, sovereign wealth funds administer hundreds of billions of dollars. That capital exists. What is absent is the infrastructure to deploy it across borders into productive enterprises at continental scale. When companies list or open tranches to local institutional investors, they retain savings that currently drain our continent. The exchanges of Casablanca, Lagos, Nairobi, Abidjan, Kigali, or Joburg have an indispensable role. African savings must finance African growth. These SMEs face 4 structural obstacles we can no longer set aside. Insufficient equity capital, with banks insisting on collateral these enterprises cannot furnish, a governance gap as formalization requires deep transformation in management and planning, regulatory environment that penalize SME disproportionately, and finally, the generational transfer of wealth. The silent crisis of African entrepreneurship, past the second or third generation, the overwhelming of African family business vanish. This is not merely a family loss. It's an hemorrhage of economic capital, institutional memory, and employment that reverberates across the entire community. I direct an ambitious appeal to researchers, sociologists, business schools, and African international alike. Treat these as a serious domain of inquiry and research. The roots are as sociological as they are financial, family structure, inheritance norms, succession disputes. These dynamics must be embedded in our business school curricula so that the next generation inherits not just enterprises, but the capacity to sustain them. I want to say that our institution, IFC, will be transforming. We will be increasing our ability to mobilize international capital and domestic capital to address all these challenges. And the local champion for us are at the heart of our initiative. We have mobilized and invested $14 billion in 2025 in Africa, and we will continue doing that and accelerate that path. So now, let me conclude by saying the following. The talent is here, the capital exists, the ambition in this room is undeniable. What has been missing is execution at scale. The kind of scale that turned energy into factories, factories into jobs, and local enterprises into continental champions. This decade must be the one where Africa stops exporting its potential and starts delivering its performance. I need 3 things. First, commitment and concrete. Not a letter of intent, not another memorandum that collects dust in a drawer, an investment decision, a structured partnership, a first disbursement before the year is out. The time for deliberation is behind us. The time of action is now. Push back on us. Push back on us. If IFC, the institution that I lead, is not making it easy enough for you to enter a market, tell us. If our financial structure are too rigid, say so, and say it loudly. We are here to adapt to your reality, not the other way around. Our value is not being right. Our value is being useful. Let's play it on the long game. Emerging markets reward conviction and patience. Every investor who has built a durable position in Africa is one who refuses to retreat when volatility strikes. So let me say a last sentence before I end. Africa has never lacked potential. It has never lacked vision. What has too often been missing is a collective will to act. Together, now, without waiting for permission from history that changes today, the arc bends not because the world wills it, but because we do. Africa is not a frontier market waiting to be discovered. This is a defining growth story of the 21st century. The question is no longer whether Africa can deliver at scale. The question is whether we will have the courage together to rise to the scale this moment demands. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maktar. And I have to say, engaging with you through these years, and a lot of the people that I interview and companies that I interview, the big realization is that without the IFC's support, a lot of the projects that we see on the continent would not have happened. So the work that you're doing at the IFC and the IFC as a whole has been such an important part of the African growth story and mobilizing capital. And then importantly, such a big supporter of the Africa CEO Forum over the years. And without you and the IFC, a lot of what we see here today would not be possible. So please, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Maktar, Job. Having you at the helm of the IFC has been an absolute blessing for all of us here in the room, so thank you, sir. I am honored now to welcome His Excellency the President of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. So please join me for a fireside chat. Mr. President, it's an honor. Thank you, sir. Please take a seat. Fantastic to be back.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I always feel very welcome here, and it's interesting to come at this time in the world. I mean, we've seen so many cycles, but I have to say, possibly nothing like this has ever happened in the global economy. And I'm wondering how you are looking at not only the short-term trends, the long-term trends, but also, we know the old adage, within every crisis there's always opportunity, and there's a lot of agency on the continent that we haven't seen before. So how are you weighing things up, and what do you think the moment calls for the African continent and for you in Rwanda?
Well, thank you, Eleni, and welcome to Kigali. But let me take this opportunity to welcome and thank each one of the leaders here, heads of state, vice presidents, prime ministers, senior executives of different industries. I want to welcome you to Kigali and thank you very much for honoring our invitation and being here with us. Of course, I want to thank Amir and his team, Jeune Afrique, for having thought of this idea to bring people together in this manner that has been operational for a number of years. I want to appreciate the work they are doing, and also the comments Amir made earlier, which really encapsulate all that we need to say and maybe best on to do a number of things. So I thank you all for being here. Thank you very much. Now, back to the question. There will always be crises. I mean, you have had centuries of different things happening. We had slave trade, we had colonial times, then there are wars, then there are pandemics, then there are all kinds of things. They will happen all the time. We just, it's a matter of time, and there are these cycles that, so we are in a different cycle now that is driven geopolitically, and we have to contend with that. But that also for Africa keeps being a reminder of our position. Where do we stand in this global positioning? And we have had many people contribute ideas and very accurately educating us what we need to do and what we need to be thinking about. But we can't stay there. We need to learn from this. We need to shape what we are doing for ourselves, and action should lead us in the right direction and how to deal with these crises. So But for Africa, let me say, we have to leverage our competitive advantage, and there are a number of them. So why is Africa always at a disadvantage? When you look back, you see where Africa has been lacking this or that. But really, why, when we have almost everything? If you look at in the area of green energy, and this continent is home to 60% of solar potential. 60% is home to that. Africa is home to that. Then if you look at the critical minerals that talked about, all of them, or the majority, are on the continent for making batteries and so on and so forth. And different powers are fighting over that. But Africa, that has a lot of that, is silent or losing most of it cheaply to those who have the power and have know what they want to do. Look at human capital. In terms of human capital, Africa has abundance of that. In fact, whether maybe by now already or in a few years to come, Africa will be having the largest middle class in the world. So how can we have these resources and then we are here wondering how to overcome some of the challenges that are brought by the geopolitics that we talk about, or the crises that we see happening in every... So we need to come together and do something about it. It's doing something about it. The rest we know. And Amir earlier on was talking about what we lose by not doing a number of things. I think we lose a lot more even by not doing what we have to do.
And it's a really important point. It's time of action. And I have to say, you know, when you mention pandemics, there was a wake-up call, and we've seen so much shift and change. But, you know, watching what's been going on with the way African leaders have been approaching bad deals that are getting on their table. I mean, Zimbabwe, Zambia, as well as Ghana, saying no to mineral deals because it was about extraction in return for healthcare programs and so forth. And frankly, I'm sure a lot of you in the room know that you've been very vocal about the kind of bullying tactics, the coercive tactics that have been used by the West, specifically the US. And at this point in time, we know that Africa is still being viewed as a place where people can extract, but African leaders are saying no. Also threats about sanctions consistently, not only against African nations, but other countries. Rwanda yourselves are dealing with US sanctions since March this year with the issue regarding the DRC. Take me through how you're dealing with this new geopolitical tension where there's a belief that might is right and the big can control, you know, everyone else.
Well, it's a crisis in a sense, but brought about by the same thing, Africa not leveraging our capacity, our potential, our, you know, energy of the people of our continent is just locked out there. And it's a situation where the powers that be are holding a whip in their hands. They're using a stick to beat up whoever they want to beat up in order to... They are no longer even hiding it. It's just in the open. It's like in the situation you're talking about, we have in the region of Congo and the other crises that also, in a way, involve Rwanda and other countries in our region. Yeah, sanctions, one has, first of all, are they justified? And it is not just in this case of Rwanda, but in other cases. Sometimes sanctions are just applied in a case of the one who provides less than the other. Yes, so it goes in the favor of the highest bidder. When somebody knows they will extract more from a certain place, they will be more favorable to that place, even if they are the ones in the wrong.
Do you believe that all roads lead to mineral deals? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, it is in the open. I don't have to say much. And in some cases, it operates like in the very old days. There is a lot of cynicism in this. In the old days, the kings and so on and so forth used to give their in-laws, their children, powers to say, go and control something somewhere. And that's happening today here.
Yeah.
Yes, they just give somebody, say, go and get whatever you want to, and do whatever you want to do in that region. That is how Africa is treated. So these powers you see that come here lecturing people on democracy, human rights, and they are doing it with one arm, and the other, they are just taking away everything that people own. So, and this is what is critical. This is why Africa, leaders of Africa, some of whom are here, brothers, and the CEOs and other Africans, I think we need to give ourselves value of some kind. We can't just be people who are waiting to be ripped off by somebody who is shrewd enough and has the power to come. No, we must be able to say no.
And we've seen those no's. We've seen some of those. I mean, do you believe, sanctions are used, a coercive method to get countries to capitulate. Are you going to capitulate?
I never capitulated in a war situation. This is not a bad situation as such. Well, it hurts, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what it is meant to do. It is meant, sanctions or different measures are meant to hurt people. So in a way, we are hurt. But I think we would be hurt more by not doing what we are doing. So it's always, you make a calculation. Yes. So, and it is not so difficult to say no. In fact, it costs more to say yes to the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So we are here, but all these things come to pass in one form or another. Even those who have been given the gift of messing us up, one day they will not live long enough to see the gains from exploiting people or doing unjust things. So I think each one of us, countries in Africa, and mainly and most importantly together, there is a lot we can do to raise Africa, to raise ourselves to the level where it should be, and don't mind about these powers that think they own the world and the heaven and everything else.
And I hear you loud and clear on the hypocrisy and the contradiction in terms of where international law applies to some when it suits and it's broken in other cases. We've seen so much of this. In a world where we're seeing the unraveling of the global world order as we know it, institutions are being challenged, they're being broken down. What is Africa's role, do you think, in this new world? Because it feels like it's never going to be the same again.
these pressures that we get from the rest of the world, Africa, I think, is being reminded to wake up. So the pressures are not entirely bad. I think they force Africa to look within for what we have, to actually do what we need to do to find a good place for us in this world of those injustices and other challenges. So Africa, looking within, and we have a lot to bring to bear on dealing with these challenges. I think we can succeed, but above all, we need to work together and move away from saying what we know, because there is a lot we know and there is a lot we talk about, but we need to do a lot more based on that.
The private sector, I want to talk about scaling up or failing. You engage a lot with the private sector. Rwanda is such a prime example of incredible, I mean, we cover so many stories here. I mean, you're just seeing like a hotbed of fantastic growth. But where do you think the private sector is going wrong from reaching that level and becoming African champions and really truly scaling up?
I think private sector is doing a good job. In fact, it is ahead of the public sector. But we could be served much better by finding a way to bring close private sector and the public sector and benefiting each other as one, because that's what we are actually one when you look at the needs of the continent. And so I want to thank the private sector. The private sector, they are actually, to some level, hustlers. They are able to go through some of the barriers that are created by the public sector. Yeah. But if those barriers were not there, the private sector would be far ahead of where they are, and along with that, the continent also would be ahead of where we are. So my call to all of us is for really coming together, the private sector, the ways of how they could conduct business, I think, have been very elaborately put by Amir in the presentation you had with him earlier. And those of us in the public sector need to fine-tune our responsibilities towards allowing the private sector to be the engine that they are and should be, and all of us would benefit.
I think His Excellency just gave all of you a compliment. He called you hustlers. He says you're the, doing things better than the pipe. Yes, give yourselves a round of applause. Mr. President, you're so, so encouraging always. I've got one other question, and I want to talk about, when I wake up in the morning and I have to check, can you believe social media to get an understanding of what leaders are thinking? And a lot of the time, it lacks decorum. It's shocking. You guys know who I'm talking about, right? Yeah, I don't have to say it. What do you think of the way global leaders, the strongest leaders on this planet, are speaking right now? I'm sure do you wake up and check what people are saying, on social media? Do you get shocked? What shocked you the most? There's a lot.
I have become immunized to shocks. But social media is very interesting. It brings equality in some sense of presentation of ideas and feelings, and it has really, media has been democratized. I think it is important. Everyone can express themselves and they will be heard. If you are wrong, there will be somebody to tell you, you say, no, that's not right. And when it is right, then people will say, wait a minute, I think there is a point here that we should be thinking about. So it has been so open that we have gone beyond having this narrow sense of being guided into things without sometimes thinking, or we are conditioned to believing even what is not right just because it has been said by somebody in the media. So it has sort of opened up space for everybody. So some of us also follow, and it's up to any individual to scan and try and make a sense of what you've heard, you are seeing, and it is a good way. You receive criticism, you receive advice, and so it remains the responsibility of any individual to decide how they build on that and benefit.
You didn't answer my question about the shock factor. Are you shocked by some of the things you see?
I'm not, I said I've been immunized.
Immunized, okay.
I'm not shocked about I understand where the world we live in.
Yeah, it's changed, right? It's completely different.
Yeah, for the 30-something years of my life, in the last 30 years, if you look at, I think, we come to understand there will be things that would otherwise be shocking, but they don't shock because we have been there.
That's true. Mr. President, final word. What do you want people to walk away with from this forum as we say goodbye?
Well, always it's a good opportunity, but I want people to know that each one of the people in this room and beyond have something to contribute and to benefit from, benefit each other, and the continent has a lot that is not being put to good use, and it is up to us. It's not people from anywhere else to be able to raise ourselves to that level where we should be.
Ladies and gentlemen, please help me thank His Excellency the President of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. What an honor to speak to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Always inspirational, always insightful. And by now, a lot of you will know that I've been advocating for you guys to stay a couple more days. You need to go and see the gorillas. Has anybody done that? Like only like 4 of you? You need to book it right now. Ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be
Africa CEO Forum ikaba imaze gutangizwa aho mu ijambo rye Perezida Kagame no muri iki kiganiro amaze kugira yagaragaje ko ibibazo isi igenda ihura nabyo bikwiye gusigira isomo umugabane wa Afrika, ari naho umukuru w'igihugu yagaragaje ko Afrika igomba kubyaza umusaruro umutungo kamere ifite ndetse n'ingufu z'abari mu myaka yo gukora ari rwo rubyiruko, cyane ko ari bo benshi rero ko hano hakenewe guhuza imbaraga nk'umugabane. Umukuru w'igihugu kandi yagarutse ku gitutu giterwa n'amahanga ko gikwiye kwibutsa Afrika ko ariyo ikwiye guhagarara ihamye mu kwihangira ndetse no kwigira mu bikorwa byayo bitandukanye. Rero gahunda n'ibiganiro bya Teza Rwanda birakomeza. Je nari Adams Kwizera.